All right, welcome back. You're watching Wise Guys. And this week, very special episode. I mean, you can't get more Wise Guys than this week. We got the Wise Guys show, and we're in the world-famous Sparks Steakhouse, and they're treating us like family here, like most of the places we go to do. As usual, I'm joined by my crew. America's lawyer, Lou Gelomino, is with us. And our in-house leg breaker, Kara Castronova, founder of Citizens Against Political Persecution. But if you really want to take the whole Wise Guys thing over the top, we got the man himself. Chazz Palminteri joins us today. Now, Chazz, I'm usually like the head of the table here, but when a man of your stature comes in, I got to take second fiddle to you. We have come victimized by Jimmy Kimmel lately, these lefty libtards out there making kind of fun of us, played some clips of our show and said, oh, look at these dummies, they must be in an Olive Garden or something like that.
Right.
You made it to the top of the world as in Hollywood as an Italian. Right. How did that all begin?
So I was in LA, I was a struggling actor like all actors are, and finally one day I was working as a doorman at a nightclub, as a bouncer. And this one guy came up, he got really nasty to me, and I said, he goes, do you know who I am? Now when a guy says the words, do you know who I am?
That's a problem for
that
him.
That means he's not getting in. And that's what I said. I said, you're not getting in. That's who you are. And he said, you'll be fired in 15 minutes. And who was the guy? He was the biggest Asian in the world. His name was Swifty Lazar. So I got fired by Swifty Lazar. And I'm an actor, and this is the biggest Asian in the world. And I just didn't let him into his own party. So I drove back to my apartment in North Hollywood, this little apartment. I had a real dumpy car. And I said, man, I got to, if I'm going to do this, I got to do something great. And I said, I know what I'll do. If they won't give me a great part, I'll write one myself. And I saw on the refrigerator, my father wrote, the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. That was my dad. So I said, you know what? I'm not wasting my talent. I got 5 tabs of yellow paper. I went back to my theater company, and I started writing about this killing that I saw when I was 9 years old. Just like in the movie when you saw that. It's exactly the way it happened. I was sitting on a stoop. These guys were like fighting over a parking space, I thought. And one guy got a baseball bat and the whole thing. And the guy killed him right in front of me. And I just was like staring at him. And the next minute I knew, my father grabbed me by my arm and dragged me upstairs. The cops came up, and I wouldn't testify. I said, I don't know who it was. I didn't see it. So from that, I said, that's what I'm going to write about. And I started writing, and each week I would write more and more. And at the end of a year, almost a year, my idea was to do the whole thing on stage by myself, play all the characters. I said, it's a one-man show. They got to notice me, right? So I got money. I put it up. Bam! Once it exploded, now they want to make the movie. But they didn't want me. They wanted to put a star in the role, and they wanted someone else to write it. I had $200 in the bank. I got offered $250,000. I said no. $500,000. I said no. People in Hollywood thought I was crazy. It only happened 2 times in history: Rocky Stallone and me. And then finally, it went up to $1 million. I walked down, I was sitting at a big table just like this. The guy he said, Chazz, you sign that paper, you'll have a check for $1 million tomorrow. I said, am I going to play Sonny? Am I going to write a screenplay? And his head just went like this. He says, I can't do it, Chazz. And I said, well, you know what? Then I'm not going to do it. I got up, I walked out with my agents. A week later, I did the show again in a standing ovation every night, packed house. And I walk in my dressing room, and Robert De Niro was sitting there. And he goes, my God, that was the greatest one-man show I ever saw. He goes, that was unbelievable. He says, look, if you sell this thing, they're going to come to me anyway. He goes, but I'll tell you what I want to do. He said, you should play Sonny, and you should write it because it's your life. He said, I'll direct it, and I'll play your father. And he goes, if you shake my hand, that's the way it'll be. Shook his hand, and that's the rest is history.
Wow. And from there, you Bronx Tale, of course, is a legendary movie right up there with some of the greatest Italian films, maybe the best.
Well, one of the best.
One of the best.
Yeah, some great movies.
But I think we have 4 paisans sitting at the table.
Right.
And I think at some point or another in our career, we've all kind of maybe been knocked down for something, for being too Italian, too ethnic.
Yeah.
Did that face you in other places?
Yeah, in the beginning. No, look, as an Italian American, you always get typecast. Have I played a lot of wise guys? Absolutely, I have. And you know what? That's okay. But you have to look at some of the wise guys I played. I played Cheech in Bullets Over Broadway, which I got nominated for the Academy Award. But he was a genius writer. I played Sonny. He was a wise guy, but he was also he was a paradox. He loved this kid. He told the kid to do right. If you play a wise guy that has some depth to him, that's fine. Like some Italian Americans hated The Sopranos. I love The Sopranos. I thought it was a great, great show. I thought James Gandolfini was brilliant in it because you saw he was a complex person. It's called art.
Carrie, you've been hit by this.
Well, for me, I went to school for journalism, actually.
Right.
And I always remember a professor very discouraging. She told me that I would never, ever be able to work in the news because of my Italian accent unless I was able to lose it.
Well, they're wrong, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, we're on the
Obviously,
news.
we're
The
here.
world has changed, you
Yeah.
know?
Lou, what about you? I mean, there's no disputing you being Italian.
And without a doubt, John, I'm big, I'm bold, and I love Italian food, and I love to eat, and I'm loud, but I have that Brooklyn Italian accent, and sometimes you have this stereotype of this Brooklyn attorney that isn't intelligent, you know, and everything that goes along with it, and you know, Chazz. That is a fantastic story. I can't wait to tell everybody now. I got another dinner conversation to tell everybody. But I didn't know any of that. And, you know, the part that I took out is you took your life in your own hands and did something about what you wanted to do. You didn't wait to say somebody, hey, Mr. Palminteri, I'm going to stick you in. You realized you had to take it by your own, the bull by the horn, and do it yourself. And that's a great story for everybody out there, not just in Hollywood.
You know the way life is. The way life is if you look like you need help, especially in Hollywood, they won't help you. If you don't need anybody's help, that's when they'll help you.
Confidence, right?
Yeah.
You got to
It's confidence.
That's
You have
like
to
life in
portray
general.
confidence.
Some would like our kids to realize a little more where they think everything's going to happen in their phone or from their parents. Sometimes you got to go out there and, I hate to say it, but grab your colognes and go do something on your own.
John, I talk about that all the time with my children. I really do. Portray confidence.
So do I.
Well, it's a very Italian mindset.
Yeah, Kara's always mocking us, Lou and I, for being Guidos. But, you know, I'm proud of being a Guido. But, yeah, exactly. So, you're locked in. And to steal his line, I'll just say this. Now, yous can't leave. Don't go anywhere because aside from being award-winning actor, writer, director, amazing businessman, has an amazing one-man show which just cruised through Staten Island and is going around the country right now. We're going to come back after this and we're going to talk about his business exploits and maybe some other cool little stories you might want to hear. You're watching The Sit Down right here on Wise Guys. Don't move. All right, welcome back. As they said in Bronx Tale, there's nothing worse than a waste of talent. And we ain't wasting any talent at this table. And we're not wasting your time either because we got the man himself, Chazz Palminteri, still with us. Thank you so much, Chazz, for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, aside from Bronx Tale, you're not a one-dimensional guy. And you wrote the screenplay. You had the lead. You did the musical. You did the one-man show. You're one of the only guys in history, if not the only guy in history, to do such a thing. I want to get to your restaurants, Chazz Palminteri's. How hard is it coming out of the pandemic to be a businessman?
It was very hard, but you know what? We have such. I'm a little biased. Our restaurant is so great, Italian food. We opened up another one in the pandemic. We have one in White Plains, 264 Main Street, and obviously right here in Manhattan, 30 West 46th Street. And I said to them, look, you're going to put an Italian restaurant. I'm going to be partners. My name's on it. It's got to be great.
Right now, you're in the middle of a national tour.
National tour
doing
of the Bronx Tale.
one-man show.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, if somebody wants to go to see my show, all they have to do is go to chazzpalminteri.net, and my schedule is up there. Talks about that, where they can come and see me. My podcast is up there. I got a great big podcast right now that's really blowing up. So anything they want to get, and they want to get to know about me, chazzpalminteri.net. You can get tickets to come and see the show. Of all three, people said they like the one-man show the best because that's the original. See, people think the movie came and then I did the one-man show. No.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Right.
Robert De Niro came in, saw the one-man show, and I owe Bob everything. Bob is the guy who gave me my break.
Did you know De Niro?
I did not
before
know him, no.
that? Wow.
So you just came off the stage that night, and he was in your dressing room.
I came on the stage, and the stage manager ran over me. He said, Robert De Niro
Wow.
he's in your dressing room waiting. He just saw the show. And I said, Robert De Niro? I said, yeah. I said, oh. So I walked in, and there was Bob sitting right there.
You know, Chazz, being a proud Staten Islander my whole life, some of the most iconic scenes in The Godfather was shot in Staten Island. Michael Corleone's house was there in Staten Island. But there's some mob lore that Mario Puzo and the staff had to actually sit down with Joe Colombo and get an agreement. And one of them was they couldn't use the word mafia in the movie.
That's correct.
Did you have any problem with the Bronx Wise Guys?
Well, that's why I didn't shoot it in the Bronx. I would have too many partners. I decided, no, actually, you know, that was one of the reasons. But the main reason was we found this place in Queens that was exactly like 187th Street, and it had a church that was built by the same architect. So it looked exactly like Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And there was a lot of empty stores there. Because this was, don't forget, this was 1980, you know, this was 93 we ended up shooting it, and business was down. So we just put our stuff in these empty stores, and we were able to do it there.
So when you're playing all the characters in the show, I have a question. Are you playing the minor characters like Coffee Cake Face and Mush?
Everybody. I play the 9-year-old boy, and I play the 17-year-old boy. I play every female characters. I play it a very interesting way. I play that. What I do is they talk to me, but you don't see them.
Right.
But, let me ask you a question. How many people out there that you come in contact with realize that the show, the one-man show, was the first thing that was actually
more people
written?
now, Lou. You know, that's a good question.
I had no idea.
More people now, because I'm doing the show nationally all over, and at the end of the show, I tell the quick story about how it all happened. You know, because people just, you know, they just.
My take on this, I knew you've been doing the one-day show, is that this was something that came afterwards.
Right? Yeah, everybody thinks that.
Right.
No,
When
I wrote this thing, believe me when I say this, it only happened twice in history. Believe me, the people in Hollywood, they're smart. When I do it, it's like I do the whole movie on stage. I'll clap my hand, and I cut to another scene. And you see the movie. You see it.
No, I have
when
to
you
come
see
now.
it, you're going to go, oh, my God. You got to come and see it, and I implore you to come and see it.
Speaking of seeing it,
Yes.
we were lucky enough to get a little snippet of it, a little sneak peek. Let's take a quick look at a little piece of Chazz Palminteri's one-man show, The Bronx Tale. Take a look.
Sonny, sharkskin suit, diamond pinky ring. Sonny had 5 fingers, but he only used 3. There was a guy in his left and a guy in his right, Jimmy and Bobo, and they were his bodyguards. They looked like refrigerators with heads.
So I do want to ask you this before we go. You know, many people don't realize in this whole cancel culture and everything, you know, you can't talk about any minorities. You can't say anything out of line, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like more and more you could call people Guidos, mobsters, guineas, and Italians seem to be immune from being made fun of. Like anybody can make fun of us.
You see, let me just say this. The Italian-American community is really, the mafia is a very small part of it. It's an anomaly. That's really what it is. But the Italian-American community is made up of the working people. That's why I wrote Bronx Tale. It's about the working man, not about the mafia. But people go, well, why did you put the mafia? I had to put that so you see the difference between the mafia and the working man. But Sonny was a good guy. He wanted the kid to do well. That's what makes the story so interesting. It's not about black and white. It's about gray and gray.
Is there a mafia? I don't think there is.
I don't know if there is. I don't know if there is.
I'm joking around. You know, that's always their debate.
Yes.
Chazz, John and I grew up in Staten Island, and obviously we have friends that are part of the life. And what you point out in the Bronx Tale is so true. It's not black and white. We have friends that are such good people that are involved in the life. They're great fathers, great husbands. Obviously, we know a few kind of bad dudes too, but most of them are gray.
All right. This week, in honor of Chazz, we're going to forego the wannabe of the week because we shouldn't even use the word wannabe when we have a man of this stature at the table. Chazz, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
You're
Hopefully
welcome.
you'll come back. Maybe one of these days we can come to Chazz Palminteri's restaurant and
Absolutely.
do a Wise
We'll do
Guys
it there.
episode.
We'll do it there. And you guys got to come to see, you be my guest. You got to come and see the One Man
love
Show.
to.
But no matter what, no matter if we have Chazz at the table or Rudy Giuliani, we will be here every single week fighting for truth.
Justice.
And a perfect example of the American way.
We'll see you again right here next week on Wise Guys.